we're now joined by the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. Governor DeSantis, appreciate you making the time for us, sir. We know it's a busy time of year.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm in a situation now. I've got 3 young kids, and we live in Tallahassee now as governor, and they become very big Florida State fans. And I told them a month ago that all Florida State had to do was win out its games, and they would be in the college football playoffs. And as you know, that didn't happen. So they're constantly asking me, Daddy, you said they'd be in the playoffs. What's happened with this? So we're still working through that as a family.
I saw, actually, your son in the Florida State Seminole jersey on the road in Iowa right before the game against Louisville. Actually saw, I think, Casey, your wife, posted a photo of that. And I thought to myself, I bet that was a tough conversation to have with him. So if you were president, would you try to order a 6-team playoff? Because I think that would solve all the college football issues. Maybe not order, but try to bring it together.
Yeah, use the bully pulpit. That's the thing. I think that I'm glad the playoffs better in the BCS. Going to 12 teams dilutes the regular season. And so is there some type of happy medium where you could do where, okay, 6 teams and someone that's number 1 in the country would have a bye or something? That would probably make more sense. But look, it's we've had a dry spell in the state of Florida. I mean, when I was growing up, every year, Miami, Florida State, one of them was good. And then really, I think, and actually my wife and I were watching that documentary, The Swamp, about the Gators, and that 2009 Alabama drubbing really was kind of the end of Florida being always in the top. And
I was
Florida
at that
State
game.
Yeah, that was a beatdown. And then Jameis Winston, Florida State, obviously they won the national championship. And then since then, the whole state has pretty much been a dry spell. And then this year is really the first time that we've competed, any of our schools, at a really, really high level. So the fact that they won all their games, and I understand they lost their quarterback who's a great player, but my view would be if you win a Power 5 conference and you're undefeated and there's only 2 other undefeated teams, you should be in one of the top 4 playoff spots. And so, but I do think Florida State's got good future ahead of them. We'll see. Florida needs to get with the program in Miami. I think they got some good ingredients, and I think they could do. But the SEC is very difficult. Like if you fall down a little bit, it's really tough, and the recruiting is cutthroat, and the portal, and all this other stuff. So we're proud of what Florida State did. I wish they were in the playoff, but it is what it is.
Governor DeSantis, first of all, couldn't have said it better myself about all the football stuff, so thank you for that. And tell me, if you will, you are in Dubuque, Iowa right now. We are a matter of weeks away from the Iowa caucuses. There is a Des Moines Register poll out today that shows you, and this has been pretty consistent for a while, in second place, so clearly in the hunt, but a bit behind to the point where some people are saying, how could this change in just a matter of weeks? What's your answer to that? How do you think that you could be?
I'd say a couple of things. A couple of things. One of the leading political leaders in Iowa, Bob Vanderplaats, head of the Family Leader, he's endorsed me. He ran for governor in 2010. The Des Moines Register poll the day before the primary had him down 30. He lost by 2. And so I think that some of these things, the history of them have not been great, especially going from a caucus where do that. So how we do the caucus is we get people to commit to caucus. We've built an organization, and you turn them out. And so we've already gotten tens of thousands of people that would exceed even what that poll said, and we're continuing to build every day. But that's really what you got to do. And what I found is going through Iowa, there's obviously Trump has some voters that'll be with him through thick and thin, but whatever he would be above that in a poll, a lot of these people, they remember him as president. He's the guy they know. They like his policies, but when we're able to go make the case in person, and sometimes that'll be at a diner with 30, 40 people, sometimes that'll be more of a rally where we have a couple hundred people, we're able to get people to come and caucus for us. So we're going to be working very hard on the ground. We're going to be doing that. But I think what all the polling shows, and I think Republicans have been burned by this, but if you do look underneath it, there's only 2 candidates that conservatives would be willing to support, Donald Trump and me. None of the other candidates like Nikki Haley can get support from conservatives, and ultimately to win, to be a Republican nominee, you got to do well with Republicans, and you got to do well with those who consider themselves conservative Republicans.
Donald Trump's been taking shots at you for a while. I think we've got a cut I want to play for you, but you debated Gavin Newsom a couple of weeks ago. Both Buck and myself thought you absolutely mopped the floor with him. And then I thought you had a really good debate last week in Tuscaloosa, although it's probably salt in the wound since you didn't think Alabama should have been in, that you had to go there.
Clay didn't even think Newsom was charming. He was telling him to button the shirt up. He was not a fan at all. But anyway,
I thought you even made Gavin Newsom seem uncharming, and I thought, even the wine moms were probably a little bit upset with his performance. But Donald Trump came out. I don't know if you've heard this, and said that he thought Newsom won the debate. Here is that cut I believe we have. I wanted to play it for you.
You saw Gavin Newsom with no facts. He beat the hell out of Ron DeSanctimonious the other night, and he had no facts.
Okay, so that, and then also, I know you've been, Trump said that going and debating Hillary was incredibly brave of him after the viral Access Hollywood tape. And then also I saw where Trump said that you and Fauci were boys, which, I mean, I bet that I don't think Fauci's on your Christmas card list.
We got a lot here. Go ahead, Governor.
I'm glad you raised some of this, because these are things we could hash out in a debate if Trump was willing to debate. But first, on the Newsom stuff, no Republican in the country thinks that Newsom won that debate. It was very clear. His wife came in and stopped it because we wanted to continue debating. She stopped it. People recognize it. Even a lot of Democrats have recognized it. But why does Trump then all of a sudden, no matter what happens, he's going to trash it, and he's even willing to side with Gavin Newsom over that? That's not how you build a sustainable movement that will fix this country. You should want to see good conservative governors do well and other office holders do well, regardless of whether they're endorsing you or supporting you or running against you. The Newsom and those guys, they're the enemy. You don't side with them. And I think one of the low moments for Trump in that Newsom debate was when Newsom was citing Trump to attack me for being pro-life. I mean, I think people in Iowa who saw that, that would be that's very, very bracing. I mean, Donald Trump at the March for Life in January of 2020, he gave a speech saying, every life is a gift from God. Unborn children are made in the image of God. There needs to be legal protections. I mean, that's what he said. And then now he attacks pro-life protections as being a terrible, terrible thing. And people like Newsom are weaponizing that against. Now on Fauci, that's just a total lie. I mean, you guys have followed what we did. We fought Fauci tooth and nail. I remember June of 2020 when we started to get a COVID wave. He was saying Florida needed to shut down. We held strong. He said Florida shouldn't have schools open. We held strong. And look, I know it's sensitive for Trump because if you look at his presidency, the low point was him turning over the reins to Fauci during COVID. He should have fired him. He shouldn't have had him there to begin with, but certainly after the first few months, it was obvious that this guy was totally out of control, and yet they let him do that, and he even gave Fauci an award on his last day in office for Operation Warp Speed. And then in terms of the comments he made the other night, it was really bizarre. He claimed that a general came up to him and said that the bravest thing the general had ever seen was Trump debating Hillary after the Access Hollywood tape, even though he's seen soldiers make the ultimate sacrifice in battle. I don't believe that a general actually said that to him. I think he was saying that to try to add some color, but I obviously as a veteran just disagree with that. Debating is the bare minimum that you do as a candidate. It's certainly not brave to show up to debate. And we're now in a situation where there's going to be, I think, a debate in Iowa that only Trump, me, and Haley would qualify for. I've said I'll show up. We'll see if the other two show up, but I think you should show up.
You think that if Trump were to come in second in Iowa, would he feel compelled to debate? Because there's one after that as well.
Look, I think as much as I think he should debate and as much as I think, it shows a lack of confidence that he won't, I understand why he's not. I mean, I think that he's living in an ecosystem where he's been able to kind of ride through. He's obviously very well known. He's got the corporate media that want him to be nominated, which is a huge change from how they treated him as president. Now they're doing differently because I think that they think they can turn the tables as we get into the summer and really, really turn the screws on him. I think the more Republicans think about it, I think they're coming to that conclusion. I've seen this going for very, very long. So I actually understand why he's not debating. He won't have to answer questions. And look, I'm happy to answer questions about my record. I'm proud of what we've done. We've delivered huge things in Florida. Trump should be proud about some of the things he did, but he also should answer questions about Fauci, about COVID, about all the spending. He should answer questions about Operation Warp Speed. You know, he said Warp Speed saved 100 million lives. That is just not true. We've seen, I know you guys have covered a lot of the problems with this, and that's one of the things about going forward. The next president needs to bring a reckoning to all these medical agencies in the federal government. They hurt this country. They lied to this country, and they will do it again if we let them get away with it.
I want to go back to what you said about your Gavin Newsom debate, because I don't know that I've heard it. So Gavin Newsom's wife, because the way it ended, for people out there who have forgotten, Sean Hannity said, hey, let's keep going. He goes to commercial break. Then he comes back and says, hey, both the parties have decided actually that they're not going to continue. And then Sean Hannity continued with his show. So you're saying Gavin Newsom's wife basically, like, it was like Rocky, she threw the towel in and said, hey, we got to get, we're out, we're done with this. Like, what was that experience like?
So we were standing at the podiums. He said, you guys want to go? I'm like, that's fine. And I guess we had already gone over the allotted 90 minutes, but it was fun. And that was pretty shortly after I did the San Francisco poop map and showed that to everybody. And so that obviously was not a good moment for him. And so then we go to commercial break, and then there was a woman that came out and she said, hard stop, it's over, it's over. I didn't necessarily know who it was at the time, but then come to find out that, that it was his wife, that they didn't want to continue with the debate. So I was 100% willing to continue with the debate. They didn't want to do it. But I think it was important to do the debate because, one, they're likely not going to run Biden if it doesn't look good for Biden. Newsom was kind of the guy waiting in the wings. I'm not sure after the debate that that's someone that they may want to go with, but they're going to go with somebody that's going to be younger, and we just got to be prepared for that as Republicans. And he, I've always said that the problem with these Democrats is whoever runs, Newsom had to hug Biden. Both Sean and I made him hug Biden. He said Biden gets an A+, great economy, all that. We all know that's not true. But if he would be the candidate, he would own all of Biden's policies. Then he would have to own San Francisco and Los Angeles and California and the exodus. So in that respect, that's a lot of baggage to be able to take into an election season. And I don't care how slick you are. I don't care how much of a snake oil salesman you are. Those facts do matter.
I got to ask Governor DeSantis before we let you go. We're about to hit a hard break here, but is Gavin Newsom friendly to you when you're not on camera, or is it kind of more real than that, if you get my drift?
It was honestly, we shook hands, we exchanged pleasantries. It wasn't anything like hostile. Now, in the commercial breaks, we weren't necessarily chatting, whereas in these Republican debates, I'll talk to Christie or Vivek or whoever in the commercial breaks. We weren't saying anything during the commercial break. Do you ever feel like you're back at back like teaching high school and you have to separate the students when Vivek and Nikki Haley go after each other there? It gets pretty intense. Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I think that the last debate, Nikki was not providing very good responses, and I think the more and more people have found out about her, the less confidence they've had in her with some of that. But the interesting thing about the Newsom debate too, it was just Hannity sitting there, Gavin, me, and then like the film crew. There was no other human being in that little room, and that was at Newsom's insistence. He would not debate if there was an audience, and that was one of the things they insisted on. And I think it's because he knows he would have gotten booed if there was an audience, because it's one thing to take a liberal position, but it's one thing to say things that are not true. I was in Sioux Center, Iowa the other day. I had a gentleman come up to me and he just pointed at me. He's like, you did good against Newsom. He's like, nobody believes that California has lower taxes than Florida. Nobody believes that. And it's true. And he was trying to say things that we know aren't true. I mean, we know California's got a problem with homelessness and crime and all these other things. And so it's one thing to try to put lipstick on a pig. It's another thing to try to act like reality doesn't even exist.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, 10 seconds here. If it's not Newsom, if you think Biden's out, who's the nominee going to be?
Look, I would probably say Harris will muscle into it, but I think you would have Pritzker, Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren. I think they'd all be scramming for it.
Good stuff. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work in Iowa, and apologize to your son on Florida State because that was a hit, the solar plexus there.
I know. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.